Mr. Cheese is ready for round 2.
Tate, there's some unfinished Shark Tank business here. You obviously did not listen to Mr. Wonderful. You did not take the cheese chopper out behind the barn and put it out of its misery. Why not?
Well, not yet. Howdy, Sharks. My name is Tate Koenig, back to give you one more chance to get in on a slice of the action as Mr. Cheese Pizza!
Welcome, Supers, back to another Shark Tank Tank Tales. We have somebody very timely who was just in the tank. The first episode of season 14, just this past weekend, was making not only his second debut, his second appearance in Shark Tank history, but also in history of the Shark Tank live episode, first time ever on Shark Tank, which was a mixed bag to say the least. We'll get more into that later, but right now, whatever you're doing, whatever you're, lawn you're mowing, dog you're walking, toilet you're sitting on, I need some super claps for Super Tate Koenig. How you doing? How you
doing fantastic. Thank you.
You sound fantastic. You sound like your voice is a little raspy there. I can't imagine why.
Yeah, we've been going real hard for a while now, getting things taken care of.
I bet. I mean, normally I don't throw this up here, but I went to go to your website and I see out of stock, 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 out of stock,
yeah,
out of stock, and out of stock. Dinging the bell for that. That is right. No, absolutely awesome.
That part has been awesome. I wish, unfortunately, we didn't get to have as much inventory as we would have loved going into Shark Tank, obviously. But, everything we've got and back to collecting back orders now. So finally got every order shipped out so I can take a breath.
Woo! Yeah. And you're spending that breath with us. That is super appreciated.
Definitely.
Oh man. Okay. Let's start with so I didn't get to have you on after you went on for the cheese chopper. Did you see that video that me and I think I was with Larry in that episode?
So yeah, I now I have. So now I know. So I haven't seen part of it, but I didn't really know what was going on before. Like I said, last time I left Shark Tank with a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth for it. Just on the not towards Shark Tank, but just all right, I need to take some breathing room. I was pretty all in. I mean, when I was in the quarantine before the last one, I think I did watch every episode of every Shark Tank. I was there for 9 with my notepad out, taking notes.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking with Peter from Mountain Flow Wax, and he was part of that season 12, that infamous season 12, and he was. So, I mean, if you haven't watched that, it probably isn't out yet, because I'm probably going to drop this interview before that comes out, even though I recorded it an hour ago. But I think that that experience is so radically different and so even more challenging than previous seasons, and then now this season or 13 even, where you didn't have to quarantine for 10 days prior to getting to go on the show and having to go to Vegas versus going to LA to film. But you've had a totally different experience than anybody other than the other two sets of entrepreneurs that were on the show, which get subscribed, because I just talked with Jeff Grace today, and him and his wife are going to come on from Kent, and I'm pulling this out of my mind as we go. But apparently they were big fans of my show as well. Before getting to go on Shark Tank. So I helped them in their preparation, which was really cool. I always love hearing these stories about that. But
well, you got to get the Oogie Bear people that were on in between us. Also fantastic people. I got to hang out with them, and actually after the show, watch it live when it played on the West Coast with them. It was a good time.
That is awesome. That's a very different experience than most get to have.
Yeah.
So where to start? All right, so you didn't see the cheese chopper before going on Shark Tank this time?
What did you say? Sorry?
You didn't get to see your cheese chopper video prior to going on Shark Tank this time?
So no. Sorry, I'm moving my deal here.
It's okay. It's okay. Okay, so how did did Shark Tank reapproach you, or did you? Oh, before we get there, actually, so during the show, during my recording, I say, hey, I think I've seen this before, and I couldn't remember where. And if you go back to the cheese chopper video that me and Larry shot, we saw it that night that it aired on your website, and I could not for the life of me recall. I'm like, I know I've seen this before. And it was on your website.
Coming to fruition. That's funny. I was like, is there another knockoff? We don't know, because that has been the battle with the pizza packs. Is getting knockoffs taken down. I mean, there's a couple people who come out with them, that are inferior, like they're made with non-microwavable safe material and stuff like that. And so getting them, unfortunately, they are getting flagged and taken down, but they keep popping up. So it's been a constant battle.
I bet a game of whack-a-mole for sure.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think once you get now that you have Shark Tank on your side as well, it probably is a lot easier to get the ear of like the Amazons and other big, box websites to do something about it versus before, where it's like we're gonna get around to that. We'll give us like a week or so and we'll get on it.
Yeah, we've worked with like Amazon Launchpad program that they've got, which is pretty slick. So we have a rep that's actually been pretty, knock on wood, pretty responsive about it, and helping us take care of it. I mean, they better for how much damn money they take. So it's not like that's cheap help. They should be helping, but it's nice that they have been.
Well, hopefully they don't decide to knock it off, because I mean, you probably have seen that the Peak Design Bag commercial, I'm sure, where they knocked off Amazon knocked it off, and they made a whole commercial around that. If you haven't checked it out, type in like Amazon Peak Design at or something like that, and it's pretty funny. Pokes the bear quite a bit. They're like, hey, we did all this research, and like this is why our bag costs like $70. You buy the $30 bag from Amazon, and this is why it's $30, because they didn't do any of the R&D. They didn't do anything but just like, nice design. I think I'll take it.
Yes, and thank you.
Yeah, so it's a love-hate relationship with Amazon. On many different fronts.
Mine's mostly. I wish there was somewhere else people would buy your stuff, but it's like I'm the worst. I'm just as bad as everyone else. Like I go on Amazon, like whatever I need, but it's just like I know so much, like how much that money goes to Amazon versus the person who actually, well, even if they didn't invent it, even if they're just manufacturing it and doing shit all the time, like how much more money goes to Amazon, and it's just like but it's so convenient.
It's convenient. I'm an Amazon seller too, and it's so convenient to sell things through Amazon without having to like take the pictures, put it on eBay, and then eBay will err in the favor of the buyer 90% of the time. And
well, and that in the fulfillment side of thing is so nice. Like that's why I've been absolutely overwhelmed since Shark Tank recently, is because a bunch of our inventory arrived like right before we were going on Shark Tank, so we didn't have time to send it into Amazon. So we were literally fulfilling those out of our warehouse of like single. It's like, we fulfilled 2,000 orders today. How many is actually like 3 trips to the post office with a big old toy hauler? I mean, we got them out. We're good. We did it.
So I do gotta ask. Going back to the cheese chopper, did you have the same level of success with that out of the gate like you have with the pizza pack in relation to Shark Tank?
So nothing even close to pizza pack. Pizza pack's been phenomenal, but we did definitely have some success with the cheese chopper after going on Shark Tank. There was a big influx, but we were still like we hadn't actually shipped product out to the customers yet, right? We were still just doing pre-orders on our website. So we sold a ton of inventory or orders, but it's not like people had the Amazon Prime option, right? Like had to just click purchase done. They had to go to our website, enter their credit card information, do everything, do all this stuff. And then it was like, hey, and by the way, we'll send it to you in 2 months. So it's a much harder sell. And by the way, the Sharks just roasted me. So, it's a much harder sell than, oh yeah, they love it and it's finished, it's awesome, it'll be at your house in 2 days. It's like a lot easier to go boom, boom, boom. But now we're in the same boat where we're taking back orders on our website, but we got inventory arriving in 2 weeks. So it's not quite we're like, hey, middle of October it'll be there. It's much easier to sell.
Yeah, well, I mean, the cheese chopper is also, if I remember correctly, pulling it up here, a bit more expensive of a product as well. And you have to be a cheese fan, buying the cheese block. Like everybody orders pizza. There's a reason that like 1,000 pizza commercials run an hour and, et cetera, versus like cheese, like Velveeta, they run commercials.
But you nailed it on the head. The U.S. eats 3 billion pizzas a year.
Oh,
insane.
The arteries.
Oh, that equates to 100 acres of pizza a day, right? I had all these facts up my sleeve just in case it came up for the tank. I was ready to go.
Wow. Okay, so Shark Tank Live. So this time around, the first time around, did you apply to be on Shark Tank, or did they find you?
They found me. They reached out to me. Yeah. So I had done a Kickstarter campaign, and we did it. We raised like $125,000. It was awesome. It kind of blew up. People really, especially I feel like the Kickstarter community is kind of like that more niche deal, and the cheese part of it just latched on. They blew it up. And so, anyways. I got an email from Shark Tank. It was like 11 o'clock on a Sunday night. It's like, hey, this is so-and-so from Shark Tank. We saw your product. Want to know if you'd be interested, talk more, whatever. I thought it was one of my friends screwing with me. So I'm like, okay, yeah, Sunday night, 11 o'clock. So I'm like, start to respond like, some dick comment. And then I'm like, let me type it in LinkedIn. It's like casting director at Shark Tank TV. I'm like, okay, time out. This is legit. And so, so I reached out so then once I got in contact with them, they had already finished all the casting and whatnot for season 12. So it was like hyper speed. It was just like boom, 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 and away you go. So it was fun. It was a whirlwind that time as well.
So when it comes to this season, did they reach back out to you, or did you reach out to them and like, I got the pizza pack too, like let's go?
Yeah, I reached back out to them, and I was like, and I just wrote a deal like, hey guys, I got a new product, it went well, and then just threw a little blurb on them for like how cheesy my pitch could get, and they're like, oh yeah, let's go. And they were stoked, and so then it was just once again, boom, 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 let's go, and then it was only not too long ago where they even threw out the idea of a live episode. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, Tate, if you're going on live TV, you're going to have to calm down the F-bombs, I'm like, I could do that.
It's all right. I'm writing the timestamp so I can censor this back.
You can bleep that one good.
Yeah. We have an audience of all ages, out there, and you never know who's listening. When you're playing something and you don't expect, because I generally try to keep the show clean, and you just never know who's listening, like kids or whatever. But
I made it 13 minutes, kept it clean. That's not bad.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I'll take that.
So this this infamous live show, which I think we need to dive into, because have you seen? I mean, I know this is the first time you got to take a breath. Have you seen any of the comments about this live show yet?
No. Well, I mean, a few mixed, not really. Like I've literally been fulfilling orders non-stop until just recently. We just finally got them out. But what are they saying? What's the interweb saying?
It not great. Not. I mean, it's weird. Like so you
For the
and
show
it's not
or the Pizza Pet?
no for the show. The show. People are
Okay.
like, if Shark Tank, this is how I hate the new format. I'm not watching anymore. And I'm like, wow. Like, I actually did a whole like 35-minute video here on the channel talking about it because I'm like, I love the idea. But the way they executed on the idea left a lot to be desired. Like it turned into like a game show basically, and maybe that didn't I'm wondering how that translated to you being there on the carpet versus like an hour later or 2 hours later getting to sit back and watch it on TV and see like people yelling. I mean, we're gonna get into your whole deal and people screaming royalty and stuff, and it just was was stuff like I love the idea of it being live. I like the idea of the audience being silent, as well, because that had to add a lot of pressure both on the Sharks and you because you're under a time crunch.
Yeah, but man, I did love the crowd. I fed off the crowd. I was feeding off the crowd. Like once they start going, except for when they started the royalty chant, I'm like, really, guys? Like, come on, whose team are you on? Like what? Outside of that, I love the crowd there. I was feeding off it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so fascinating. Like how perspective plays into it, right? Like sitting home back watching it and being like, it was at one point. I mean, at some points it was that hard to tell what people were saying because the crowd was not even just in your pitch, but in the other ones. Like it was so loud that it was hard for me to hear what was being said. And I think the one with was it Nina and Cena? Was her name?
Nina and Cena.
Yeah, I guess Cena was talking, and it kind of sounded like Damon was talking, but I couldn't make out what he was saying because you had the crowd like going like nuts in the background, and so it's just different. I also the other thing I said was like I wish that they had made it a 2-hour episode because they could have had a lot more time to let it breathe instead of feeling so rushed. And the whole question thing, it felt kind of hokey, like when they did the poll thing.
Right. Well, and I mean the biggest thing, like the time, right? Like the time crunch for the cheese chopper. I was up there like an hour to not get a deal, right? Like, and you want me to go pitch, close, get off stage in like 12 minutes? Like that's a lot. And to where, I mean, every word matters, right? Like, I mean, for the time, and that would be the biggest downside to me about the crowd was just that they stole time when I could have been putting important statistics and facts and things, even in my time frame, right? And it screwed up when they started cheering at my pitch. I screwed up. I left out one pun. I have one more worked in there.
What's that pun?
It in my deal.
What's the pun that you left on the table?
So after the first thing, I'm like, and the pop top air vent to keep you safe from the dreaded soggy slice syndrome, to give you peace of mind. And then I'm like, oh my god, that's the first thing I noticed when I rewatched it. I'm like, oh man, I thought I crushed that pitch and I missed it. Oh.
Oh, I've been there where you had you have the lines, but that also plays into the fact of like there's people there. It's live. You're rushing because you're just that you're under the gun with time.
But and here's the thing though, and once again after watching it, I do think it gives it a little bit more of a real experience for the people watching it of what it's like going in the tank, even on a regular show. It's not as cut and clean as they make it look with all of their stuff. People are yelling over each other. You are getting there are things going on. So like as much as a lot of people say they didn't like that part of it, like that's a lot more real, especially the time. I'm with you. If they did 2 hours, I think that would have been, or even two people for an hour, or however you do it. But the time was the hardest part. I had so much stuff I wanted to tell them that we didn't even get to touch on. And that was the only downside of it. Other than that, I did like too, that was, when we're all out of our comfort zone, the Sharks kind of a little bit were too, it levels the playing field a little bit, like that's So I love the live show, even from the pitching or from the entrepreneurship side of it. You know, as the person swimming in the tank.
No, I like I said, I enjoyed it. Like I said, I mean, that was the takeaway, my 35-minute take on it, and going through the comments, and I mean, it's insane. Like, you go to Facebook and they're like doing a victory lap video of like, hey, like, we did this live thing and it's the season premiere and everything, and it's like 400 comments, and I found like 3 of them that are positive. But
Really?
there was a lot of likes to it, right? So it's like, is it
Right.
just a vocal minority, like a big vocal minority, versus like you know, people maybe that didn't even necessarily watch it the night that it came out or something? I don't know, but I mean, it just seems very universally different. And so my point was like, look, if you're gonna do this, silent crowd, make it 2 hours, and do it in the summertime. Do it away from the season premiere, because the education, people won't pay attention enough to know like Shark Tank didn't change. This is one
Right.
episode, you know, and
Right.
that's very hard for people to like wrap their head around.
Yeah, and that is true. Like I said, this is one episode. It's right back to the normal Shark Tank.
We'll be interested to see what the ratings do after, like, you know, tomorrow's episode 2 and going forward, to see if it hurts the ratings at all, just because of people, I don't want to say ignorance to it, but like to a certain level, just not knowing.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, one thing I did learn with the cheese chopper, right, is the negative people are so much louder, even in the few. Like, the haters just love to go leave a gnarly comment and do all the things, whatever else. And most people, even if they really like it, don't like it so much they're going to go out of their way to leave something. So, you know, how funny is it to the people that had time to go leave a negative and be all pissed off, but not look up the fact that it's a one-time deal?
Yes.
Do
Ding,
your
ding.
research, man.
Well, I get plenty of negative comments here on this channel. People just like, I'm just trying to watch the show. Shut the hell up. Like, who are you? Like, okay, like, go to my about page, learn a little bit, do some research. Go, just literally click on the button that takes you to like the channel homepage, and you'll see like I have, you know, nearly 40 Shark Tank entrepreneurs that have come on the show. Like, clearly there's something to this that you're not seeing.
You got to have haters to have fans.
Darn straight, darn tootin'. So another thing that stands out to me about the live show that kind of robs you as the entrepreneur is you don't get to have a watch party. I mean, I guess you could in retro, like after the fact, have a watch party, but you're missing out on the watch party. You're missing out on being able to stock up on inventory necessarily.
So
depending
that,
how.
yes. Being able to stock up on inventory is the big one, right? As far as a watch party, I mean, that's way more fun going into doing that than it is having a party with your buddies you see all the time. Don't get me wrong, I have some great people, but that's a kick in the pants. Like and like I said, it was pretty fun afterwards. We go film it, and afterwards you get done, and me and the Oogie Bear people and Kim, my girlfriend, are calling to trying to get the hotel in time to catch it when it plays live on the West Coast. So it was pretty fun.
I guess it's cool. Like, it's cool because it's different than what you experienced the first time around, right? Because you're the only one that's gotten to experience both, which is why it's such an honor to have you here, Tate. Like, for real. Like,
as I was talking to the Shark Tank people that work there about, I'm like, I've done everything except the normal Shark Tank. Like, everything.
That's right. Season. Yes, that's true, because season 12 was not like the normal Shark Tank.
I was the COVID quarantine season.
That's true. Had to come back a third time.
Right. Yeah, right. No. But yeah.
So I mean that. Those two things stood out to me as being, just
the
radically
like
different.
I said, the inventory was, and that's like why we're sold out of everything. Is, and we had normal inventory, but boosting up for like Christmas, right? But we weren't planning on, so like we have more on the way now. As soon as we found out we were going to be on a live show, or had at least potentially that it could happen, we're like, boom, order. But that stuff doesn't get here for 2 weeks. So it was like, but the biggest thing was, if you were going to be on a live show, your episode was going to air. Because so many people go on, do the whole deal, do the whole dance, and then never get to air.
That's true. That's very true.
I was
How far out did you know you were going to get to be on the live show?
I mean, in standard Shark Tank fashion, I mean, nothing's guaranteed until you step up there. You know, I mean, it was always, I mean, they mentioned the idea, but it was always like, hey, prepare for this, but at any point you could get thrown in and we do this, right? So it really wasn't until that the regular casting passed that I was like, okay, they're not going to back pocket me for next season. Like we're going to do this, you know. But then you have the whole deal is I'm like, or I could be a spare that they're taking because it's a live show and who knows how many are going to go. And then I'm in my own head. I'm like, well, wait a second, am I doing all this? Am I find out or whatever? But no, it couldn't have gone better. But yeah, never. I don't think I was ever told, yes, this is for sure happening. This is how.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like even the marketing had me kind of confused because like they kept saying Shark Tank Live. And I'm thinking to myself like, are they really gonna do it? Is it really live or was it just filmed in front of a studio audience live? I mean, that's a different aspect of itself, and then edited down to be it's Shark Tank Live, but it's not like we're not actually there live at the time.
That was full on hit live. When the clock struck the button, the stereos went off, and it was boom, boom, boom. Like it was full on. Like I said, they maybe had a couple second bleep button for me and Cuban, but other than that, it was live.
I think the standard's like 10 seconds or something like that. But
right.
It was, into it. I'm like, all right, how are they going to fit 4 pitches in an hour? And then I was like, once we got through the first pitch, I was like, okay, there's going to be 2 more then, and that's going to be it. But again, I really wish they had done at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours would have been the sweet spot, especially for three companies, knowing how long you guys had to pitch normally, and then it being so short. And I recall saying, I don't know if it was during your episode or your video or one of the other ones, but thinking back, like in my opinion piece that I did here on the channel, like what's the percentage of deals that will actually end up going through after all is said and done, and then if they ever do this again, like adding to that, like and then comparing that percentage to like the overall show percentage because of the added pressure of an audience and being live and being under the gun of the time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I got both fingers crossed for you, man.
Fingers crossed. And that's the thing too is I think there's got to be a sweet spot because if you went all the way to 2 hours and you had 2 or 3 deals. Like, yes, you do need a lot of time, but that leaves that's a lot of time to pay attention to someone to really we got through like most of the important facts, say, of my business, right? We left out a handful of them, but it was just boom, 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 boom. Like, so you got to stretch that out, but you wouldn't really want to watch the full-on deal. Like when I was up there for Cheese Shop, we were talking about all kinds of stuff that no one would have given a crap about, right? So it's like so that, you don't want to just put the whole thing on, but so there's got to be something, like I said, an hour and a half for 30 minutes. Well, I guess you get like 22 minutes
of commercial, yeah.
You with commercials or whatever, so say 22 minutes. That's doable, and you could, the Sharks wouldn't have to be yelling over each other and everything else.
I mean, they still do, as you said. It's pretty close to the real experience of the.
But like when Barbara's like on her way of going out, telling her story, and I'm sitting there counting the seconds in my head, like, okay, cool, Italian boyfriend, but Barbara, this is important time here. Like, I got stuff I want to say, I got stuff to do. And then Robert tries to interject, and she's like, no, I'm out. And I'm like, you just wasted 35 seconds to go out. Like, we've only got so many minutes here. What are you doing?
I forget if it was your pitch or if it was the Oogie Bear, where they, like, all right, let's learn something about the entrepreneurs. And they play the whole video, and then Barbara's first question out of her mouth, tell us about yourself. And it's like, did you not just watch the whole Like, they don't have much time here. Like, what are you doing?
Right. I did like that kind of with the home package program to get the backstory out of the way with, like, pictures, things, boom, boom, boom. And then you could focus on the business.
Yep.
The what you were there for. but so I did kind of like that portion. But I noticed that too. I think it was Oogie Bear.
Yeah,
Like, tell us about yourself.
it's like no, we just watched the whole video. Were you not watching the same thing we were watching?
Like, we only have so much time, right? But once again, I do kind of like the aspect of a time limit, just not that sort of one, right?
Yeah.
Like because it keeps it interesting, it keeps it kind of going, keeps things moving. Because when there's no time limit, people just talk,
Phil,
Myself
just
included, I
keep
love to
talking until you
talk.
get the sale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never shut up when I didn't have a time limit. I just kept talking away.
don't let them get a word in. They can't go out, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, Barbara, you wait. Hold on. I got a story I want to tell.
So, all right. So we gotta talk about Mark Cuban's offer. Did you get to watch the whole video that I shot for your pitch? I don't know. If you did, you did.
I did, but it was late at night. The night
I know
messaged,
you wrote a comment at like 1:30 in the morning, or I think it was 1:30 or 4:30 my time, and I was like, well, he must be on the West Coast then, because I doubt.
Yeah, I
he's
literally just finished packing orders, came in the house and finally checked my phone, and someone had sent it to me, and so I was like, oh, let's just watch this, and so then I was like, I go like, message him. Huh? Here we go. But yeah, comment.
Oh man, so
I kind of remember it, but I'm
That's
a little bit, yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. So Mark, wants you to name your price and how much, and obviously you having two other partners. I would tend to think that you talked about that being a potential. It's always potential. It doesn't necessarily mean it will happen, but out there. And I personally didn't think that your $5 million was out of the range. Like my guess was 3 to 5. So everybody at least gets a million. I'm putting that in quotes because you got to pay taxes and whatnot. But and then anywhere up from there. But I didn't feel like 5 was out of the realm of certainly not for the amount that Mark. Oh, you're going to be a millionaire. Like, well, hold on a second, Mark. Did you miss the 35% part where we were just? That was like literally 6 minutes ago.
Of your entire life. It's like, okay, cool. I can pay off part of my house.
Exactly. I mean, big picture, that might change your life a bit, but.
Right.
It's not like you paid off the house and bought a Ferrari for everybody on your block. Like, it's not changing that kind of thing.
And here's the thing too, and I guess because I was thinking about that afterwards, that whole Mark deal and everything else, and I'm looking at it as, right, what's the value of this company and what it's going to do in the near future, right? Like, what's that? Mark's 1.5 million was a fair valuation for it exactly right at that time, right? But not counting what it's going to do. What it's already done, where it's at, sure. But that's like, here's my idea, not rating it on how good the idea is, just selling an idea, right? It's like, listen, man, come on. And we had talked about it, the number, right, with our business partners and everything else, and the number, $5 million we'd be happy to sell it for that. The number that if no other offers were on the table was 3. And I don't think that Mark would have. I think Mark might have given me 3 for it if I really got down and negotiated with him on it potentially. But I'd rather have the deal with Lori, right? That was just the number if there weren't any other offers. Like if it was our only shot was to sell the whole thing, yeah, $3 million.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you always like try to look at like what's 3 to 5 years worth of profit, right? What could we make, and what you can make with it, Tate. Probably isn't what Mark can make with it. You know what I mean?
Not even close.
Mark picks up the phone, calls Shaq, and like, yo, let's get Papa John's, in the box and sell him the stuff, and we're gonna go to town.
Mark, not too long ago, just finished negotiating a deal with Domino's for the Mavs stadium. So he's already in with the guys. I've been doing my research. I was like, Mark, that's why Mark was up there. I'm like, oh, I know what you want to do. You want to buy this on the cheap, slang it to your boys and make stacks. I don't blame you. That's your short for a reason. But I'm not about to,
Yeah, nah, you gotta, like I said, at $5 million, it's like the potential for what you could make in 3 to 5 years versus what he would make in probably a year.
30 minutes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. If he can amplify it through a deal with Domino's, like all of a sudden it's probably tens of millions of dollars.
Right. I'm like, I get it. And I'm doing all that math in my head. I'm like, God, 1.5. I split it with these guys, and then I pay taxes of like $250,000. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's not nothing, but it ain't this.
Don't get me wrong, that's a lot, but not for where we're at. You know, where we're going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Plus the power of Shark Tank, and I think that's the other thing is that this doesn't afford them that ability to like, oh yeah, we're gonna do a deal. We handshake on it, then we wait like 4 months, 5 months. It airs on Shark Tank, then you see like, did it is it a hero or a zero kind of thing? Did it really take off? And then, but I mean, I see talking with different Shark Tank entrepreneurs. It goes in the opposite way too, where the business like explodes in that 3, 4, 5 months, plus Shark Tank on top of that, and then it's like, oh, you wanted to do the deal? How much? What did we agree? I don't remember. What did we agree on? Oh, yeah, it ain't worth that anymore. But Sharks don't want to hear that. They're like, oh, well, I had it at this. I'm like, okay, well, it's a different business now. I mean, I just talking with Flow Mountain or Mountain Flow. He's like, yeah, we added so many lines and stuff before the show even aired. So it's like everything just kind of changed and grew and evolved before it even got on the Shark Tank.
Which is awesome, right? Not only that, you have time to get another product, you have to get inventory. The biggest thing was like the live deal was just, and just because we didn't know, the live deal was, I'd find stuff out when I saw ABC posting on their social media. Like the whole audience deal, I found that out on Instagram with a targeted ad by ABC. I messaged the producers. I'm like, is there some sort of game show, like a voting in like thing going on? And they're like, oh yeah, I think we're gonna. I'm like, what? I'm finding out on social media. And it's funny. I mean, and that is the fun part about Shark Tank. Like, so many people ask you, like, is there stuff behind the scenes? Did they know what's going on? And I'm like, no, it is full. Especially like the live, like. They have no clue at all until I walk in and they're like, this guy's back? You gotta be kidding me.
I mean, it's better that way. It's more authentic that way.
100%. Like I said, the only downside for me is just the inventory thing. I would have loved the chance. But if you film a Shark Tank, you're still rolling the dice by buying inventory because who knows if you'll make it on an episode or not. So it's
That's very true.
Nothing with Shark Tank's guaranteed until you see yourself on the screen. I'm convinced.
No, absolutely, and that is, I mean, depending on what your business is and how much inventory costs and all that, and where you are as far as having the money to even put out for the inventory. Like you go all in and then it doesn't air, and maybe you can get rid of it, or it's a fledgling product that you haven't even proven, and. This now you're sitting on a whole bunch of cheese shoppers and like nobody's picking up the phone, because they didn't air the episode and you just didn't get what you maybe not that you're not selling any, but like you're not selling what you would if you had them on Shark Tank.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. Like I said, that is the worst part about the Shark Tank is just not being able to prepare or know or have any clue if it's going to air, what's going to happen. And the live show especially, I'm like, because that was the other thing is, you go in the other one, the first Shark Tank, you go film for an hour or whatever, and they cut that down to all kinds of TV time. You have no idea how it's going to get cut, edited, anything else till you watch it with everyone else at a watch party. With the live show, you can control your own destiny a little bit, right? Like, they're not going to edit you to make you look like an idiot or do something else. Like, so I like that part of it. Because I was as nervous for watching the actual episode air as I was going in the tank the first time. I'm like, oh man, I said so many things that could have been turned around to look like I was a real idiot. When we were talking about everything else that goes on in life and whatever else in there. And I'm like, oh man, they could edit that however they wanted. When I got out, you're overthinking it. You didn't get a deal, and you're like, oh, we're.
Yeah. I mean, the editing part. Anytime you like touch your eye or wipe, you start sweating, so you're like wiping your brow. Like, yeah, they can. They can edit it.
Right, and like I said, that was the part I loved about the live deal. and that's like I didn't even know there was going to be a crowd till like very recent, like very soon before the episode. And I felt like my girlfriend Kim got to go, which was awesome. They got, worked it into it. But the live crowd, and I'm like, I feel like you probably should have warned people earlier. Like, I'm cool, I'll love the crowd, but for a lot of people, that would be a lot of added stress. Like, to do it. But it was fun. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine the crowd probably didn't know the crowd was going until probably like the day of.
Right. Yeah, no, but it was cool. Like I said, the crowd was, I loved the crowd. But like I said, except for when they were taking away airtime, but, and chanting royalty. That's really my own bone to pick. Chanting of royalty. I'm like, whose team are you on? You guys were just cheering for me. Now you're chanting royalty. Like, come on.
Yeah, that was, like I said, I think that was the biggest complaint more that I saw than anything was just the fact that the audience was interactive with with the show, because not like the royal, by the time they're chanting royalty, I'm like, wow, what is this, like Let's Make a Deal, like the TV show or Price is Right or something.
Right. Yeah,
like that's
the
vibe that like people are like, ooh, yeah, no, I didn't care for that. And so again, I love the fact that I would love for them to do it live. I'd love them to do a whole different show that is Shark Tank live. That's like over the course of the summer. All the sharks are there. So like, for different sections.
Even if the audience was just like a sitcom, right? So they might laugh at a joke or do something or whatever else, like what is 2.5 Men or whatever the last name's Danny was sitcom show, right? But not like a cheering interactive
WWE match breaks out. Like...
I did love when they were cheering for me, though. I did love when they were cheering for me. I'm like, yeah, let's go. They should just not be allowed to be on the Sharks team. That would be a great.
Yeah, right. Well, they should. They shouldn't be on the Sharks team, honestly.
Right.
They already got their millions and billions. So like,
right.
You're supposed to be the little guy. Yeah, no, he doesn't need a $2 royalty. Come on, man. Come
on. Only 50 cents in perpetuity,
God.
Right. But that was the other crazy part about the live show, right? Is the negotiation part of it. Like, I got to be doing the math in my head or have it pre-figured out for like, not only what his deal is, but then they go back to the other one, and I'm like, having to remember what his deal was. Then we're going, and I'm like. And then Damon throws out a deal that's worse than Lori's just to confuse me, I think. I'm like, hold on, I got nothing. You're throwing it like, it's David. Come on. What are you doing?
That's one of the things, like, I get, sometimes I'll get crap in the comments for like having the pen, but I'm literally taking notes, people, like, because the things, I mean, even when it's edited, things are moving fast, especially towards the end of the show. And I need to know, like, what was their name? What was their initial one, right? Because they don't always flash it at the bottom, and there's things like that. Like, there's so many notes to take. It's not because people are like, oh, you got your pen, like you're going to invest in them or something. Like, yeah, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to help teach entrepreneurs to be better at what they do and be on their side. I'm not here because of the sharks. Like, they're them, right? They do their thing, and I don't always agree with them. But.
Yeah, I made a joke when we were getting ready, but I'm like, can I get a pencil and paper up here? But I was like kind of joking. Like, it would have been nice, but I wouldn't have time to write anything down. Like,
no, you wouldn't have. I mean, you're like speed dating over there with the sharks. So I'm assuming that like you guys talked about a royalty deal and how that probably wasn't going to work for you guys prior to going on.
Yeah, and here's the other thing is, but like, we were preparing for every like worst case scenario, right? Like, what if the only deal is a royalty deal? What could you live with? What could what is that? Like, once again, as someone who went on first time and didn't get a deal, I know how that goes. So as much as you believe in the product and everything else, it's not until Mr. Wonderful goes, your first one was a loser, but this one's a winner. And I'm like, whew, all right, now we can go.
Totally playing to the crowd.
Right. But so we had prepared, like, what if your only option is Mr. Wonderful and he wants this royalty? Like, how much of a royalty is he really worth? Is he, can we afford? Da 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 da. What if your only offer is someone who says, hey, you suck, but I like your product. How much would you sell it for? Like, we were like trying to prepare for all that. I'm like, guys, if my biggest problem is negotiating between good offers, like I can do that on the fly. It's like I've got to know if this is going to be really like a bankrupt walk away from a dream deal or a dream opportunity because we literally can't afford it. Like, what's our we leave empty-handed again numbers?
I mean, I liked Damon's idea of a licensing play. Like, you put like sports teams or something on their college teams. Go to the college, get the college logo on there, and they can sell it right in the college stores.
Every dorm room fridge ever.
Yeah, exactly, because it fits way better than a pizza box.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you recall, but I've caught some flack in the comments for my comment about storing our pizza in the oven. Because apparently that's like gross.
I did. Okay, so I remember that part of your video. It's one of the things from at 1:30 in the morning when I'm exhausted. I remember because I was like, really? You do that? It just it's now. It's not. I don't think that's gross. I'll eat it if it's been sitting on the counter for a couple days. I don't really care. But I just didn't know. Yeah, like I'm good with that. I just like, you take the time to put it in the oven. Is that so the flies? But if it's in a box, why not just leave it on the counter?
So that's a great question. The reason is so that the pizza doesn't get hard, because we have an electric oven. Now, if we had a gas oven, it would be vented and it wouldn't work, right? So because it'd be vented. So because it's kind of like using a bread box or the microwave oven, like the microwave. To store bread, like if you have bread or donuts or muffins, we store them in the microwave because it's air sealed, so it's like only so much air is getting to it, so it's not going to get as hard as fast. So that's the idea behind it. Like, all these people are like, oh, you're going to get sick or whatever. I'm like, man, like that's not.
So check this out. When we get done, you just got to send me your address. I'm going to hook you up with some pizza packs, so you never need to do it again. You're gonna, but you can't put the pizza pack in the oven. Just make sure you don't turn the oven on. No.
I won't put it in the oven at that point. Thank you so much, Tate, for that. And talking to my wife about it, she's like, well, I think it's weird that we put it in the oven. I was like, well, it's just easier to store it there because like our fridge is one of those like side by sides. It like the freezer's on the left, fridge is on the right. We have a freezer out in the garage, but it's just like, it's just one more step. You have to go out to the garage, like put it out there, and so it's just like toss it in the oven.
Before that, I just set the pizza box on the counter next to the fridge if it didn't burn. Like, I don't really care. I'll eat it.
Yeah, I mean, look, that was the joke growing up. Like, we had Pizza Island because our island growing up always had pizza. So when my friends came over, it might be a day or two old. But my thing is, like, you go to the pizza shops, like here at the Jersey Shore, like, if the food's only supposed to be out for 2 hours, I promise you that some of that pizza has been under that glass for longer than 2 hours.
Well, and like I said, it's not like if you leave pizza on the counter, it's not going to last longer than a day or two. If it's right there, you walk by, you grab a piece, it's out in front. It never makes it to like scary stage. Now in the oven, you can forget about it for a couple days. If you're not using your oven on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, we do use our oven. We actually have like a toaster oven because I was like, because my wife was using the oven so all the time. Like, but a lot of times she's just making like these little things. Like, let's get a convection toaster oven. They'll use way less electricity to do the same exact thing. In probably usually a lot less time, but yeah, no, I don't know. I don't see it. To me, I don't see the problem. But some people apparently they follow the USDA rules of cooking beef apparently.
Well, I'll tell you what, and then if anyone needs a pizza pack, we can take care of it. No need to use the oven.
Yes. So I know my wife will appreciate it because she's like, it is weird that we put it in the oven. I'm like, it's better than just sitting on the counter. It takes up less space, and we don't use the oven every single day. So, and again, it's electric, so it's sealed. It's not air,
Right.
you know, it's not vented or anything. So you were saying before we got started here, because it took a little while to get a camera working and audio and everything,
Right.
and you were like, "Oh, I'll go get my laptop." And turns out you went to get your laptop and could not find your charger.
Yes, my charger's in the hotel room that Shark Tank put you up in because I left it there and it was plugged in when I was working. And in the frantic leaving in the morning, must have forgot it because now I honestly I haven't even unpacked all my bags yet. So there
And
is
it's
potential.
Thursday.
Maybe
It's just Thursday evening at this point.
it's been hectic. I've showered, I've changed clothes. I just haven't gotten to that part of it yet. We've been non-stop. Like I said, when our inventory didn't get put in, so we got to fulfill them all, but they're being sold on Amazon Prime. So you've got to fulfill them within like hours of them coming in almost to get them to still be there in 2 days. So yeah, it was a burn through.
I bet that is you know, the dedication that it takes to make people's lives a little bit easier, you know,
Right. Well,
both on the Amazon side and the pizza side.
Jeez, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, like, as if the entire Shark Tank's like exhausting process wasn't enough to then come home into that for the next 5 days. I am ready. This morning, I have a 5-month-old baby, and this morning about
Aw.
4 a.m. she starts crying, and I'm like, you know, I'm really usually happy to see you, but I was really needing that sleep right now. I just needed one night.
Yeah, hey, one night off is a big night off. As someone who has
hopefully
2 little
tonight, we'll
kids,
see.
I pray and send positive vibes that you will get that one night off.
Hey, I'll tell you what, she's usually pretty good.
Oh.
Like today of all days to not be.
So rushing off. How was the what's been described to me as the rush, coming off of the live show versus being on a recorded show, because like it's like a weight off your shoulders. It's a huge like drain from what I've heard. Like you just like need to like decompress. What's the difference between those two experiences?
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, by far the biggest was the first time I didn't get a deal, so I walked out a loser and feeling because you know it's like you just lost the game. Whereas this time I come off and just won the game, right? And so for me it was polar opposites on so many different levels. But it was just it's kind of you know we came home like I said afterwards you walked off and before you just kind of before I was in the COVID deal, right? So I went back into my quarantine bubble that I was stuck in for 9 days. No, before. So like there it's just like, oh, and you just like, I just sat there like, man, now I got to call everyone and tell them what happened. Oh, dang it. Like, you know, like this time I'm like, oh, I better let my mom know before she sees it on TV here in a few minutes. Like, you know, like, it's because, and that was it was fun too that like by the time I got off stage and got back to where I could get my cell phone, all but the East and Central with all my friends and family was already blowing up, right? So that was super cool. Like you know, like I mean, it was live. It was like sharing it with them more. So like they're so excited as I'm so excited. You know, it was pretty fun for sure.
So how far in advance were you able to let them know that you were going to be on Shark Tank, or were you like, hey, you might want to watch Shark Tank? I just
literally that
throwing
was
it out
it.
there.
We couldn't tell like and same thing like I don't know, but I'm just like I know they've got a backup prepared, right? Like you don't want to call the bluff and be the guy who tells someone ahead of time and then be like, nope, you're out, right? It's like so as much as I wanted to tell people, I'm like, it's not really worth it. And, you know, I told like my immediate family and like a handful of you know close people like our social media person and people that needed to know, but we kept it under wraps. And so that was the other part too. Is you really find out how many people watch Shark Tank because you know, and there's a few people like you know, it's like, hey guys, right? Well, I watch Shark Tank next week, and they'll be like, well, what's going on? I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. You know, so, but but we were hush hush. I'm like, it's not, and that's what I told my business partners, like, guys, it's not worth it. One person thinks it's funny, posts something on their Instagram that gets picked up that says something, and because imagine if Lori happened to come across something where people that said, oh, Tate's going on Shark Tank, so she could look up and know about my product or something before, and have an upper hand on everything, right? So I'm like, I get it why they're making us be so hush hush discreet on everything, but it would have been more fun to be able to tell everyone.
Yeah, I mean, I would have just been like, I'm excited. Who's excited for the season premiere of Shark Tank? Like, I'm excited for the season premiere of Shark Tank.
Are you kidding me? I would have bought every ticket to the crowd and put all my buddies in there, so that they had to be like, screw you, your royalties suck, No, ABC's smarter than that. They're pretty on it.
So about a few, I guess like 2-3 days after you're on Shark Tank, I all of a sudden I wake up and I have like 20 comments on my video from you from people are calling Uncle Shale. Is that how you pronounce it, Shale?
Yeah, Shale.
Chael. Okay, I thought the H was silent or something. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I search it, and then I ended up sending it to you because you didn't even know. Apparently, was he one of your coaches or something at some point?
Yeah. So Chael was originally, he was one of my coaches, and then now he's turned into one of my good buddies and friends. He lives right down the road. His mom came to my celebration party afterwards. But she was, it's like I know him real well. But yeah, so that was super cool for him to post it. He's an awesome dude, and actually he's one of the guys. So when I first went on, or found out I was going to pitch the Sharks with the cheese chopper, Chael's who I reached out to, right? And I'm like, because he's in the UFC, he was like a #1 contender 3 different times, but he's made so famous because he's hilarious, right? Like he sells tickets with his banter and comments and things, and he's just made it with the press and media before a lot of the guys did that, especially in the UFC. And so I reached out to him like, hey man, this is like TV, because I'm as much, beforehand, I'm pitching the producers for good TV as much to get all the way through before you can get to the Shark Tank to pitch your business to the Sharks, right? And so he's who I reached out to kind of get some pointers on, hey, what do you think? Da, 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 da. And his thing is just, cheese it up, man. Cheese it up. Wow. Like, just go for it. Everyone loves extra cheese. But yes, I've known him for a long time, and he owns Ultimate Fighting, the FCFF, Amateur Ultimate Fighting Company. And so when I was like 12, I started helping him put together, from after Resmac, helping put the cage together on the weekends before shows and everything else. And I still, to this day, work there and run the show, but now I'm the operations manager for Show Day that run it for him. So I see him. I've known him for but long time.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
20 years. Geez, that's a long time.
Shoo! I know some of my closest friends. We're getting up there in age, and I've known, getting close to like 30 years of knowing them and stuff. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah, that is crazy. That's 20 years. I guess I was 12 when I started working in wrestling.
Wow. And yeah, it's just great to see that his community mobilize like that, and apparently be really cool about it, and not shut the hell up. I'm here, Chael sent me, and you shut the hell up.
Oh, he's such a homie. When his Ultimate Fighting Company did a submission grappling tournament deal with UFC Fight Pass, so it's streamed on UFC Fight Pass. So he let me, for free, he goes and gets printed out cheese chopper logos and puts them on the corner post for the deal during this live UFC, because we didn't have sponsors for it that were paying for that deal. He's like, oh, we're not leaving it after putting the cheese chopper on there. And so it's playing, and apparently Dana White texted him, what the heck is the cheese chopper? And watched it on the corner post. So I texted him after Shark Tank. We're going to change those out to pizza packs now.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's always better to have something than nothing there, right? You don't want empty space. Because once something's there, then other people are like, oh, well, how do I get my logo there? I got to talk to this person.
he commentates on it, right? So next thing you know, during the break, he's going into a rant about the cheese chopper and Shark Tank and da 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 da. He's hilarious.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's so great to have someone in your corner like that, or you're whatever they call the octagon
guys on the planet. The toughest guy on the planet. Good one to have in the corner for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right. So I know it's only been like not even a full week yet. So what's the future looking like?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, really bright. You know, we've got a bunch more inventory ordered, and you know, now we got to kind of go through the whole due diligence process with Lori, as far as, you know, she's got to verify all the stuff we said and did and everything else. The cool part, I mean, and once again, I don't know if it's a live show or because she's just super stoked, but she reached out the day after the show. Like, she was right on it, you know, hey, great, da, da, da. So fingers crossed that all goes well, and, you know, we can just sell the heck out of these things.
Yeah.
Remember, like I said, sports teams, I mean, man, you make a deal with, like you said, Pizza Hut or Papa Murphy's, Papa John's, you know, something along that line. Buy 5 pizza, get a free pizza pack, or deliver it with the pizzas. It'll be, screw 2 hours or 2 days on Amazon. It'll be 30 minutes with your delivery driver. That's
yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And yeah, I mean, it was great to see her work the deal with you as well, and to come down at what 13%, right, was the offer.
Yeah.
For $100,000, and I mean, she doesn't usually bail down to valuation, so that's awesome to see that you were able to do that.
You know, it's funny too, because like I really haven't had time to sit back and think about the episode, so I'm going through it right now with you doing it. But when I said what the heck was Damon doing throwing an offer and saving TV time? Now that I think about it, that is what got Lori to just bump her offer down from 20% to 15%. So maybe I do actually got to come back and say, Damon, I appreciate that. I take back my "you're wasting airtime." Like that was a very helpful in hindsight. I'm sorry. Yeah.
It was, you know, it puts a little pressure on, and you combine that with the screaming crowd behind you, and
right.
You know, and the time crunch that they were under, and you say, okay, like what, you know, hopefully the deal can get done and be at least close to the valuation, you know, and there isn't any more counter offers or anything that go too far in any one direction for both of your sakes, or actually all 4 of your sakes, I should say.
Yeah. Well, and you know, that's the other thing too, that although I think also because of the live episode, there's like, I feel like she's going to be just as much as me of like, we should do this quick if we're going to do it, right? Because she wants to get in now while we're still with all this momentum and rocking and rolling because she doesn't get the 3 months while we see if it airs or not. She's going to kind of, I mean, hopefully, fingers crossed, want to move pretty quick on figuring out, like you said, you know, how is this going to play out? What are we doing? Because she, you know, it doesn't help her to wait at all either. It hurts her as much as it hurts me. You know, it hurts everybody really to wait. But I guess one other thing I do like about the live show, I'm with you. Add 30 minutes to it.
Yeah, I think you're right. 2 hours. 2 hours is too long.
2 hours
I think
is a long time for one TV show. And like you said, 30 minutes. Like you said, 22 minutes TV. Like. You can be pointed to your questions, to your answers. People can still tell their little backstory about different explaining things. You know, I think that would be the ticket.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I was also suggesting in that opinion piece that, you know, if they did like a special, whether it's like 1 to 3 or 5 episodes during the summer, it could be an additional proving ground for new sharks to maybe potentially take their seats in the future. Like the guests are great, but like that they have their season. Yeah, kind of like, you know, have not all new sharks, but like, you know, maybe 2 guests at a time or something, or introduce 2 new sharks that are just on that show to try to create like a parody of it, so that you have more in the tank of people that might actually take like Kevin O'Leary's spot, where it's like, you know, look, Kevin's not really famous until he was Shark Tank famous, right? And for, I would say same for Barbara, right? Like that right. and Robert for that matter, right? So right. That, you know, really I think sets the tone for where the next shark's going to come from, that aren't jaded, but jaded like they kind of all are at this point, where it's like, I've been down that road already. I ain't doing that, or I got burnt too many times doing this kind of deal. Like, well, we need somebody else that's willing to take that journey, take those
Mark,
leaps
I
of
hate
faith.
working with the inventors. And see,
Yes.
and I would have loved to had time to be like, Mark, I'm not just an inventor, man. I went to business school. I just hopped to another product so quick because I realized it was a decent one and it was okay, but it wasn't going to be the huge home run, slam dunk. It's not like I have ADD to where I can't keep focused on one product, or run a business.
Mm-hmm.
There's three of us, but I didn't have time to explain that. One of my business partners has an MBA from Chicago Booth. The other one is, you know what I mean? Like, we didn't have time to go into this stuff and be like, hey, man, I get that. I'd just be like, all right, well, how much cash will you give me? How much? $5 million, because you don't realize there's a lot more to this company than I've been able to say in my 5 minutes of talking because, everything else, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, when you're looking at just that product, one product, it puts the ball more in his court to have the power to be able to say that, because it's like, well, this is only what people have seen. And like, I think we both know that Mark's smart enough to know that there's more to the story than meets the eye, but you're playing to what, you're playing the hand you're dealt with, because you know that everybody else has seen the same thing and probably not thinking that there's more than just what is being said in the, 8 to 12 minutes.
And my funny response I had prepared to be ready that I didn't get to drop when they're like, oh, I don't do a single product company, right? They're like, what are you talking about? We got 6 colors.
Yay!
But once again, we were so quick in time, I didn't have time to just...
Now, is the Pizza Pack a separate company from the Cheese Chopper?
Yeah. We set them up
okay.
as a completely separate company. And it was underneath the Cheese Chopper for a while because when we were getting it off the ground and whatnot. But then once it started, once we realized it had legs and was going to take off and turn to it, we started it on LLC and moved it all over.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's great to know. And because I don't know that didn't, I don't think that came up as a question of like, am I getting the Cheese Chopper with, like, what else am I getting? Am I, the Pizza Pack or anything else with it?
And it didn't, but I think everyone was under the understanding, at least I think Lori was, because that's never been brought up, right? And I think it was like, hey, listen, you guys, in my theory, you got your chance on the Cheese Chopper, you guys didn't want it. Why would I waste, valuation or your portion of it? Now, once again, being prepared for everything, I had to be ready for, I was like, man, what if Cuban comes back and was like, man, I went home and my wife hit me upside the head and was like, we use blocks of cheese all the time. And then, and he comes in and says, well, hey, I want in on both of them. I'm like, well, I got to be ready to negotiate that number too.
Yeah.
Right? So, I had to be fresh on my numbers for everything going into the tank this time, just not knowing where it was going to go.
Very true. You definitely have that, because I mean, it's come up so many times in the tank where it's like, oh, well, is it just this product, or what about the other business that like this product kind of came out of? Do we get some of that?
And it grenades it so many times when they're like, no, just this one, right? And they're like, I want the whole business. I want that, right? So I was like, like I said, I've watched them all. Like I think 13 was the only season I haven't watched. Because after I watched all of them up to mine, and I was like, I need a break for a minute.
That is awesome. It's absolutely awesome to have you here, Tate, in such a short period of time. I'm glad we were able to get it together. And I was able to squeeze this into my calendar because I know my calendar was like, oh, there's like 4 spots open, and I need to configure my calendar a bit.
Work on your availability.
It's hard, man. With 2 kids and one's doing softball and both of them are doing karate, and soon the other one's going to be in soccer. Like it's just, and there's the schooling and the being available for outside of that stuff and life, just, having time and having a wife to like spend time. It's, and then giving up punting my Fridays. So like I have time on Fridays I could record, but I need to save my breath for recording all the episodes or all the videos that air that night on that Friday. Cause I'm here at 11 o'clock at night, so Thursday, usually I take Thursdays off, but because I want to save myself for the next day. for the big show. And it's tough to keep all that in check, like, and not lose my voice in the process. And
Oh, I was so terrified of losing my voice before before going in there. I had the baby with the runny nose at home, and I'm like, oh my gosh, kid, if you do this before I go, you're not going to college. No. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah.
Oh, you were so welcome. Let everyone know where they can get their own pizza pack and or cheese chop. Do you have cheese choppers still in stock?
Yes, yeah, we do have cheese choppers. We're selling those as well. Pizza packs, pizzapack.com. And when it comes to cheese choppers, cheesechopper.com. Good news, you can get both of them at both places. So it really doesn't matter. Either one, appreciate it. And like I said, we should have more in stock in the next couple of weeks, but we're giving discount codes, so everyone who gets back ordered gets a free 10% off. So get them while they're hot.
That's awesome. There's what's his face's royalty deal right there.
Yeah, exactly.
There's Kevin's royalty.
You guys at Mr. Wonderful, anyways.
Ding, 110%. 110%. Tate, Super Tate, it has been an absolute pleasure having you here. You're welcome back anytime to talk about any new inventions or new updates and things going on. It's just been wonderful having you here.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thanks again. Looking forward to it, and you have a good one. We'll watch tomorrow night.
Yes, I will be here starting at 8:00. Usually I get the first video up before the show even finished airing here on the East Coast, usually, if everything goes well. So
awesome.
I'm looking forward to that. So, and I look forward to seeing you in one of these two videos over here, because I appreciate you making it all the way to the end here. So if you haven't seen Tate's video, it's quickly, I think it's at like 25,000 views already, which is it's growing pretty quick here. Yeah, it's going really, really quick. Click up here. If not, I'll see you in the video down below over here. Take care and go be super.